Hello everybody, I am Tiffany here to bring you another book review. This book I have been dying to read. I've had it on my shelf for over a year. And I'm finally getting to those books that I hauled. This book, out of all the books, is one I have almost thought about breaking my routine in order to read first. Because this book I have been dying to read forever. Forever! This book is very special. It's the ending to one of my favorite series ever, and it is by my favorite author ever. And this book is The Midnight Star, the third book in the Young Elite series by Marie Lu. Now, I don't know, maybe you guys will be surprised to find out that the Young Elite is one of my favorite series ever. I think it kind of flew a little bit under the radar. It was still pretty popular, but it wasn't like her Legend series, where it was a super awesome phenomenon. But it is one of my favorite series. It's dark, it's gritty, it takes you to places you don't expect it to go, and again, it's all done by Marie Lu, who is my favorite author. Marie Lu I have a special connection to, because when I came across her Legend series, it was in its debut status. It was her debut novel, had just come out. I have the original cover of the first book. The original cover! So I've watched her grow into this awesome, super popular author, and I came across her book when she wasn't really popular yet, and her book hadn't taken off yet, and I felt really connected to it because of that. And so I've always read every single one of her books, no matter what. I have to get her new Batman book, which I know is out, and Warcross I have, but I haven't read yet. So I have all of her books pretty much. I loved the Legend series, but her follow-up, The Young Elites, just completely captivated me. It's definitely a darker tone. I don't think it's for everybody necessarily. It's not insane. Like, it's not so twisted that you come out of it thinking, what the heck did I just read? But it is darker, so if you're looking for a happy-go-lucky book or series, this is not the series for you. But I still say give Young Elites a chance sometime in your life, just because it is different, it is unique. It follows a completely different perspective than what you think it's going to follow. All the characters are super complex and rich in detail. I just love this series so much. For those of you who want statistics, The Midnight Star has a 4.14 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, which proves how excellent this book is. It's a great finale to this trilogy. For those of you who have no idea what The Young Elites is about, it follows this girl, Adelina, who was one of the kids that was scarred by a blood fever that swept through the nation. And what this blood fever did was leave these different people with these grotesque marks on them, and some, very few, got these special powers along with these marks. Adelina is one of those people that has a special power to her. It sounds like your typical fantasy story, but what makes this book different and unique is that you're not really following your hero in the story. You're following the villain, and it makes it that much more intriguing. Your main character isn't the person you necessarily root for in books. It's the opposite of that, and that's what makes it unique. And I'm pretty sure other books do that, but this is the first book I had really read like that, where you saw it evolve. And over the course of 3 books, it's been an incredible and crazy ride. Get at least through the second book. The first book does have a slow burn to it, and then by the end it's like kabam! And then the second book is just amazing from beginning to end. And the third book kind of has the same feel as the first book, where it's a little bit of a slow burn and then BAM! But overall, it's still really, really good. The order of the books that I like in this series the most, the second one, The Rose Society, is by far my favorite in this trilogy. Then The Midnight Star, and then The Young Elites is my least favorite, but still really, 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 really good. I love Marie Lu. If you haven't read any Marie Lu books, get on that now. She is absolutely amazing. She will throw you a punch in the gut, and you'll be like, why, Marie Lu? You're a genius, but why? So me finishing this book marks me finishing another series. Check, done. Loved it so, so much. There isn't really much more I can tell you because, well, this is the third book in a series. So you have to read the rest of them in order to read this one and find out about this one. Thank you, non-spoilery people, for joining me. Have an awesome day, and come back when you've read the Young Elite series. Or if you have read some of it but haven't read this book, then come back when you read Midnight Star. Goodbye, non-spoilery people. Goodbye! I know this outfit doesn't really correlate at all, but it's dark and it's brooding, and I felt like it fit. I was hesitant when I first started reading it because I wasn't really sure how it was going to go. The way the Rose Society ended was really dark, and you were left with a lot of different cliffhangers in the end. Violetta had run away. You found out these powers were destroying them on the inside, basically, and that they would eventually die. And I didn't know exactly what was going to happen. And I had all of these theories in my head that didn't play out, thinking that they'd have to have this final confrontation with Adelina, or since she's the villain, that she'd really try and stop them from saving themselves in the end. And it really wasn't that, but it still hit in the heart, man. It hit in the heart. Enzo, that's the one thing in the book that I wish they would have just explored a little bit more. Because at the end of the second book, Enzo is brought back to life and is attached to Adelina. And he's this demonic thing now. We know he's going into a downward spiral like Maeve's brother. We see that's going to happen to him. And eventually, Maeve's brother goes crazy and tries to kill her. So Enzo kind of does the same thing, where he tries to get Adelina to kill herself, basically, because he has all of this power from the Underworld that he can use. And I thought that Enzo was going to be in the book way longer than he was. I thought what was going to happen was that as soon as you found out that you needed elites that lined up with each of the different gems, I thought Enzo was going to have one that they really needed, and they would have to combat him and try and fight against him on this journey because he's going to keep trying to derail them, but they need him in order to get into the Underworld. That's what I thought was going to happen. And what ended up happening is they had this final confrontation, and Raphael and Adelina end up having to kill him. And it was super sad in this really heartbreaking moment, but I thought he was going to come way more into play than what he actually did. It almost felt like him coming back to life wasn't completely necessary. The main element I feel that he was used for was kind of with Adelina, because Adelina did love Enzo, but she also really likes Maggiano. So her becoming on bad terms with Enzo after he comes back to life allows her to be with Maggiano instead of hanging on to Enzo and her feelings for him. Those go away and she can be with Maggiano. So that's the only really reason I see Enzo being alive. And then of course the impact he has on Raphael. I just wish he was used more in the last book than us having this one final confrontation with him, because he's not in the book really as much as I would have liked. The whole rest of the book was really, really good. It had this underlying tone of anxiety throughout the entire thing, because you have to deal with Taryn, first of all, who is crazy, and you don't know if he's going to betray them. You don't even know if Adelina's going to betray them. Even though she's your main character and you're following her, you don't know what she's going to do. She's technically the villain in this story, so she could completely derail this whole entire operation. Luckily, none of them betray each other, which was awesome, but having that anxiety kept the book going and kept it at a really fast pace, because you didn't know what was going to happen. Maggiano and Adelina, though, their love story just grabs my heart. Maggiano is the most adorable thing ever. He's my favorite character by far. And Adelina and her love towards him, it's just so heartbreaking. And throughout this entire book, I didn't think they were going to be able to work out, but part of me still really hoped so. But you also know that they're both the villains in the story, and nothing works out for the villains, guys. Them laying together and cuddling together, and her saying, I don't want to live this life without having been with you once. I just, the feels. The bathtub scene where they're both in the hot tub, and then he shows her this little cave area, and they have this moment where they're kissing and making out. I was mad at those Inquisitors. I was saying, get away, they are having a moment. But it was so cute. The baby had all the feels, warm and fuzzy. Every single part, every single dialogue just hit home, because you even have this conversation about this one moment that's super amazing in the second book, where they're by the campfire and they kiss and they're hanging out, and she asks him and says, do you miss that girl, you know, because she's not really here anymore, and you can see it. She's deteriorated. She's not that same confident girl. She's crueler in a way, and she's losing her mind. And he just looks at her and says, you're still there, and that's why I'm here. And you can tell he wants so desperately to save her, and he will do anything for her. She doesn't know if he's really loyal, but by the end of it, you just see how much he cared for her and loved her and just wanted her to be okay and have a good life. Just their relationship and dynamic is absolutely amazing in this story. That's one thing that I loved with Marie Lu. The way she developed all the relationships, even Adelina and Raphael's relationship in this is so complex, because they hate each other, but they do love each other in a way, and they've been through so much, and you feel Raphael's disappointment, feeling like he failed her and casting her out. And her being this way is partially his fault. And you know, she blames him too for casting her out. Even with Taryn, it's this whole love-hate relationship thing where you feel pity for him, really, in all honesty, despite everything that he's done to Adelina. And you want him to be at peace. And that's what this book kept doing. There was no good guy and there was no bad guy, really. I know Adelina's technically the villain in this whole thing, and Taryn's technically a villain, and Maggiano is even, but because you get that perspective from the other side, you're not focusing on Raphael and the elites and their perspective. Nobody seems like a good guy and nobody seems like a bad guy. Even Raphael, who's technically the hero of the story in a way, there's moments where you really don't like them and you're rooting for Adelina and you want them gone. At the same time, you care enough about them that you don't want something to happen to them. You just had all of these characters at the end that were so well thought out and so deep that they had their flaws, but you loved and hated them for their flaws all at the same time. That's why I think I love this series so much, is that it's not simple black and white. These are the good guys you need to root for, these are the bad guys. You don't know who to root for. Ending, like in all the other books though, is what really, really hit hard. The first major shocker for me was with Violetta. I'm thinking that they're all going to survive until the Underworld, and then maybe one or two of them is going to die. Violetta dies before they even reach the dark of night. And I'm just sitting there thinking, well, what are they going to do now? Because they need all of the alignments, and now Violetta's dead. She can't be dead. I could not fathom that she was dead. I was waiting for her to wake up or for them to do a miracle thing where she comes back to life, but she doesn't. She died, people, before the major event. And I just was thinking, what the heck? What's going to happen now? And then you have that fear because you don't know if they're actually going to be able to complete their mission. That was the first major shock, and Violetta's just one of those characters that you love. She's probably the most good out of all of them. She has her flaws, but overall she loves every single one of those people, good and bad. Maybe except for Taryn, but still. And Adelina fumbling and holding on to her and trying to wake her up, and then Maggiano has to come in and she's throwing illusions at Taryn, and Maggiano stands in front of her and has to have her stop, and you're wondering if she's going to hurt Maggiano. It's just this whole huge dark moment, and you just feel it. Then they finally get in, and you realize they can because Violetta is passed into the Underworld already, so I guess they can get in. And then you have the whole fight with the demon dog things, and you have your next big loss. This is where I thought Marilou's writing is incredible, because at first I thought Maggiano was going to die in all honesty, and then I was going to throw the book across the room, because Maggiano can't die. But then it ends up being Taryn who dies, and in a way, I felt that impact even more than I did Violetta, and I liked Violetta more than Taryn. But as Taryn is slowly being taken down, I'm thinking, no, they have to save him, he's almost there, he's going to complete his goal, and when he dies, you just sit there in silence like the rest of them. And what Adelina's feeling is what you feel, is that he did all of these awful things to all of your favorite characters, but at the end of the day, you just want him to find peace and be serene and be happy with himself and love himself. And then we finally get to the Underworld. Now at this point, I'm not really sure what's going to happen. I'm already reeling from the impact of losing Taryn. I'm thinking there's no way that Marilou can catch me off guard. I'm thinking maybe Adelina's gonna betray them. The ending was the biggest punch in the gut I've had in a book in a long time. Because it made me think for a second that everything was going to be okay. That she was going to give up her powers, that maybe Violetta would come back with them, and then she's going to be with Maggiano and have this amazing life. She gives up her powers, and she's waiting for Violetta to wake up. And the book being as dark as it was, I'm thinking, no, there's no way Violetta's going to wake up. So I'm thinking she's going to have to just face the fact and go up there and be happy with Maggiano. But then Moore just says the one thing I hate her for. And she says to Adelina that a soul can be traded for a soul. And she's basically saying, if you want your sister to live, you have to sacrifice yourself. And I'm sitting there thinking, no way she's gonna do that. She's the villain. Like, no, we can't do this. We can't end this book like this. Really? No, we can't. No. You're not killing my main character. No. Marilou, no. Don't go there. And I was so devastated. And that whole last part where Violetta wakes up and she's staring at her sister. Come on, we gotta leave. And Adelina's saying, I can't. And Adelina's dying. And her sister's holding her and trying to keep her alive. And I teared up. And I don't usually cry or anything in books, but I really teared up. And I think the part that got me the most is that Adelina asks such a question that You know, she wonders throughout this whole entire thing, and she just looks at her sister and says, am I good? And Violetta grabs her and just says, you are a light, Adelina. You are good. And it's just this heartbreaking moment because Adelina's gone through so much in this series. And she is the villain. And she's done horrible things and been through horrible things. And to see in this moment her sister say to her, you're a light. You're not bad. You're good. It broke my heart. It's just, you don't want Adelina to die. Oh, you suck, Marilu, but it was the perfect ending to it. What also broke my heart was Maggiano at the end, though, because they're all waiting for Adelina to come back from the Underworld, and then Violetta shows up. He grabs her and is saying, oh my gosh, I'm so happy you're alive, and then he just looks at her and goes, where's Adelina? And just kind of says it over and over again. That's the true moment you really see how much he loved her. I mean, you know he does. It was just amazing to finally see how much he does. And you know he does, but just that final moment showed the infinite, unconditional love he had for this girl. You can tell I'm really passionate about this book. But their love story is one of the best love stories I've actually read in a book in a very long time. Just because you feel their love for each other. You feel how much they want to protect each other and save each other from themselves. And they can't necessarily completely do that, but they try. They spend every moment they can together and take every moment they can together. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful relationship. It's not perfect, but just seeing the love for each other is what makes your heart melt at it. This series was such an incredible series, and I highly, highly recommend it to each and every one of you to read it, even if you stay through the spoilers. It's so good. It catches you off guard. It makes you feel certain things. It makes you question morals in a way. It makes you wonder who's the good guy, who's the bad. Just confuses the heck out of you with that, but then makes you feel the feels, makes you cry, makes you happy, makes you sad again and angry. Just all the emotions it goes through. Marilu, I don't know if you'd ever watch this, but you are an absolutely amazing writer. I love all of your work. Thank you so much for being the awesome writer and awesome person that you are. And thank you for writing this series. That is really all I have to say about this book, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any other book or movie recommendations that you'd like me to review, leave them in the comments below and I'll write them down and check them out for you. Wonderful day, evening, afternoon, whatever time of the day you're watching this in. Don't forget to be awesome. All right. Goodbye! Whoa!